Let's do this. Tom got all the words wrong. All right. You ready to
There it is.
There it is.
Can't start an episode
I
until
can't.
get the weird arm thing going.
Let's go. All right. Kyle, would it surprise you to hear that some people say that their first year in real estate, they weren't quite ready for their first year? They came in with a certain set of expectations, and their first year was different than they expected.
Yeah, I think that there's a reason that, depending on the data, 80 to 90% of agents don't make it in this because they're just not fully prepared for what they're getting into. And, before we open, I found this niche or this realization over the holidays toward the end of the year. I had put a post up like, hey, if anybody has any money left behind in an old like 401k or IRA, like let me know. I can help you like reinvest that to make like 5 times as much money off of it. And the amount of people who hit me up, it was crazy how many people had money left behind in an old 401k or IRA. Well, guess what that means? You don't have money left behind in a 401k or an IRA unless you worked for some other company prior to this, typically not a startup. Typically you work for some corporate company before you got into real estate, which is why you have an old 401k or IRA left behind. And that helped me realize like there's very few people who just go straight into real. They don't go to college to be a realtor. There's no point going to college to be a realtor. It's actually a huge waste of time. And even like the local real estate society at San Diego State University, like they don't teach you how to be a realtor. Even if you like go to school and like get a degree in real estate and join the real estate society, they're not teaching you how to be a realtor. Like very few people go to college to be a realtor. Most people become a realtor after some other career. And it's usually a corporate career, and they get into real estate because they want the complete opposite. They want the more freedom and all of that. And sometimes that leads to a very rude awakening, which is why a lot of people don't make it in this industry.
So let's try and we're going to cover 5 things in this episode of what to expect going into it. This is great if you are taking your real estate exam, if you are a new agent. This is also great if you are on a team or team leader and you want to send this to your recruits before they're coming in. Hey, check this out before you start your real estate life. So that way we can hopefully kind of knock down that failure rate a little by little.
Cool.
Fair?
Yeah. Well, welcome to the show, guys. My name is Kyle Whissel with eXp Realty here in San Diego.
And I'm Bryan Coachy, Director of Marketing here at Whissel Realty Group.
Oh, glad you remembered. The goal of the show is to give you the tools, techniques, and tactics that you need to go out there and crush it in your business. The way that we like to do that is to answer the questions that you have for us. So if you ever have a question, you want to have us answer it on a future episode of the show, you can always go to thewhisselway.com. Ask us questions on there, subscribe to the podcast and YouTube channel, join our private Facebook group and email newsletter where we share a lot of tips and tricks, and get dialed in on our referral list for all the people that are leaving California. We'd love to send them your way. And lastly, if you want to really level up your content creation in 2024, we offer a course called the Media Mayor Mastermind. We'll teach you everything Bryan and I have learned over the last 9 years of creating content together, whether it be video, audio, or social combination thereof. We'll teach you everything we've learned over that time period. You'll also be able to mastermind with us on a regular basis. So all that is at thewhisselway.com. All right, let's jump in, man.
All right, so we've got
I
5.
like this topic because honestly, I don't do the interviewing anymore because all I do is just try to scare people away.
When you're talking about interviewing for agents joining your team.
Yeah, to join our team, because I just try to scare them away. Because I think that, as I mentioned in the open of the show, there's so many people that get into real estate because they're getting out of a corporate job. And they are trying to go as far away from corporate as possible, which is one of the things that's attractive to them about real estate. It's attractive. They believe that they're getting out of the corporate world where they don't have like a set schedule and they can make unlimited money. Like that's the allure of getting into real estate for a lot of people.
And there's truth to that. There is truth to that, right? You can make, but those of us that have been in the game for a minute, you know that, you can set your own schedule. You get to choose which 20 hours a day you work. So there is some truth, but there's some marketing as well.
Yeah, so I'm excited to get into this. Bryan and I just started riffing on like the top 5, and maybe some more might come to our minds as we get going here. But let's hit these 5, and then we can just see where this conversation takes us.
So this first one we talked about, one of our best agents.
I want that one last because that one's that good. I want to save that one for last.
Well, one of our best agents gives this piece that we've loved. He's been talking about it at our meetings. Shout out to Mike Proctor. He's done a huddle about it, done Tuesday meeting. It's really, really good. We'll leave it to the end. That was a tricky, you barely got that in there. All right. So first let's kind of flip the script. Let's talk about, right. You talked about unlimited hours, unlimited money. And what's great about when you get a paycheck as a realtor, you don't see all those pesky line items being taken out by the government. Yeah. One of which being taxes. You're like, sweet.
Yeah, it's a good thing and a bad thing, right? So the beauty of being in real estate is when you close a deal, whatever commission you earned that's how much the check is. So if it's a $10,000 commission that you earned after your splits and everything, like you're going to get a $10,000 check from the escrow or from the title company, which is a beautiful thing, right? Like you get the whole $10,000. What a lot of people are not prepared for is there's no taxes taken out. So the beauty is you get all of it. The thing is, you're going to still have to pay those taxes. Like just because they gave you all of it doesn't mean you're off the hook for the taxes associated with that. So a lot of times it comes as a rude awakening for people that they do have to pay taxes on all those dollars that they made. So, it's really attractive to get into this industry because you can make NFL money, but you're still going to pay NFL taxes too. Like,
you're not paying church taxes.
You're not a nonprofit that gets off the hook on this. Like you got to pay taxes on all that money. So, depending on the state that you're in and how much other outside investing, like you should be setting aside somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 30% of the income that you have coming in, setting that aside for taxes. Because when April 15th rolls around, you're going to have to pay taxes. And also people don't realize this when April 15th or whatever, the date seems to move around a lot lately. Whenever that date comes, yes, you can file an extension, but you still have to make your payment when you file for that extension. So just because you file the extension doesn't mean that it's an extension on payment. It's just an extension on filing. So you need to have money set aside so that when April 15th or whatever that date is rolls around, you actually have some money to pay. And now I was not that guy. Like I would not set any money aside back in the beginning.
That doesn't surprise
me. Crazy. So I wouldn't set money aside, but what would happen is like I would start prepping to do my taxes in like March or April 14th. I would meet with CPA and they would be like, oh, you got to pay $30,000 in taxes. I was like, well, fuck, I don't have any dollars to pay taxes. So then what would happen is every deal I would close from like whenever I met with the CPA in like March until April 15th, I had to set every dollar aside so that when April 15th rolled around, I could pay the taxes without. Now, yes, you could pay later and you'll pay a penalty. That's your decision. But now I had to like scramble to try to get money together so that I could actually make the payment when it was due. And that's not a good feeling.
Yeah. When I first started my photography business, I was told, look, as soon as a check comes in, doesn't matter for what it's for, put 35% in a separate account and you don't mess with that account. And if you have extra, right, if you have a good CPA or a different state and, hey, I only pay 25% or whatever it is, cool. There's extra there. There's cushion, there's padding. But just if you made 10 grand, right, 3,500 immediately goes in that account. You don't touch it. You don't play with it. That's not, I want to go on a cruise or get a new car. That's for next year when it's due, when taxes are due, or quarterly or however it happens. But
Cool. Let me hit a bonus one just since I told you some of these would come to me. The other thing they don't tell you is you need to have a freaking S corporation. If you do not have an S corporation and you make $100,000 from your real estate business, just by not having an S corporation, it's going to cost you about $9,000 a year more than if you had an S corporation. So you can, if you make your 100 and you don't have an S corporation, you're going to pay 15.3% self-employment tax on that whole $100,000.
Is this California or
this is federal?
Okay.
Alternatively, if you had an S corporation, instead of taking the whole 100,000 and paying 15.3% on it, you could separate it out into a salary, and then the rest can just pass through to you as a distribution. The beauty is you only have to pay 15.3% on the salary. So you can get away on a $100,000 income. You can get away with a $40,000 salary very easily. So you're going to pay 15.3% on that, but the 60,000 distribution that passes through passes past that 15.3%. So 15.3% of 60,000 is about 9 grand. So you could save $9,000 just by having an S corporation.
At what point do you know off the top of your head when it doesn't make sense to do an S corp? If you make $1,000 a year, it doesn't make sense. But there's some sort of level of
Yeah, I follow Mark Kohler, Kohler, and according to him, it's literally like 40,000.
okay.
I've heard other people say 50 or 60,000. But if you're even close, like you should have it. And the thing is, a lot of people don't do it day one. They wait until they make some money, then they do it. Well, you can't retroact it, so you need to have it before you make the money.
And it doesn't cost that much to get it set up and running. A couple grand, right?
$1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you plan on making money in real estate, get an S corp. Start it out early. Cool. So we talked about one of the cool things about real estate. So that's 1 and 2, taxes and S corp. Number 3, I want to go into. We talked about a corporate job. They take line items out of your check. One being taxes, one being Social Security. I don't know how that applies here. But another one for a lot of companies is they take out your allotment for health insurance. A lot of companies will pay 50% or 100% of health benefits, but only some of your spouse, whatever it is. But that'll come out of your paycheck. That doesn't come out of realtors' paychecks. But also they don't get health benefits, right? So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, just benefits in general. Like there's no benefits by default as a realtor, and a lot of people aren't prepared for that. Like you probably a corporate job. We just talked, right? You had a 401k or you had an IRA, and they did like matching. Like that's not existing as a realtor. You could set your own up, which you should for tax purposes, but there's no retirement fund that's set up typically. There's no health insurance. Most brokerages is not even available. Like you have to go find your own health insurance, which obviously it's different if you're in the US or Canada or whatnot. But that shit's really complicated, really expensive. Now, like we're with EXP, they have a healthcare option, which is really attractive. So we love that. And most of the people, when they come to EXP, they save hundreds of dollars a month. I know a few people saving over $1,000 a month. So that's cool. But for the most part, most brokerages don't have any health insurance at all. So that's 100% out of pocket. And some people kind of, when their employer pays your health insurance for you, you almost don't think of that as like money that you're making, but it is. Because when you give that up in corporate America and you go into independent contractor agent work, if they were paying for your whole family of like 4 and it was $1,500 a month, like that's a lot. All right, that's like $18,000 a year that you now got to pay out of pocket, assuming the cost is the same. So a lot of people aren't prepared for that.
Cool. We're on a roll. So 1, 2, 3. Number 4. I don't know how I got there. Oh, that's how. So a lot of times at a corporate job, you're given a task list. Even if it's a corporate job that deals in sales, okay, hey, you got to follow up with these leads. You got to do this. You got to do this. But you're usually given the tools and the things to do. In real estate, you gotta hunt and kill. Eat what you hunt. I don't know. You're not just being fed. You actually have to go out and get it, right?
Yep.
So talk about. I mean, that's one thing I don't think a lot of people think is not only lead generation, but prospecting and following up, and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think most people aren't prepared for the amount of work that they actually have to put into this thing. I think a lot of people, they're so used to seeing like the realtor either on TV or on the bus bench or on the billboard, or they get the mail, or they see realtors or they see them posting on social and they think like that's all it takes. Like, oh, I'm just going to become a realtor and I'm going to just like put my name out there and my phone's going to start ringing.
If you build it, they will come type thing.
Yeah. That's what everybody seems to think. But if you get in this industry and all you do is wait for the phone to ring, you're probably going to be one of those 8 or 9 out of 10 that fails. Like the key in this business is you have to make the phone ring. And most people are not prepared for that. And if you think you can get into real estate and you're going to survive simply by texting and emailing and posting on social media, like Are there people who are successful that, yes, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but for every one person you show me that's successful via text, email, and social, I'll show you 1,000 that are successful by actually making calls, that by hosting open houses, by knocking on doors, by hosting and attending events, like getting into active conversations with people. Very few people are successful without actually getting into conversations on a consistent basis. If you're going to just rely on digital communication, I think you're going to have a very tough time in this industry. The agents who get on the phone and prospect every single day, an hour to two every day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, like those are the agents that are really, really successful. But there's so much, the thing that gets people into this industry is on social media, they see these people that are like, oh, well, this is all you have to do. It's so easy. It's so easy. Like, pull up those fucking agents' actual production. Like, I've actually come to this realization. I don't know if I shared this with you or somebody else. The whole like influencer game is a fucking Ponzi scheme. So there's so many people out there that are like, teach you how to influence people by selling you a course so that you can learn how to influence people, so that you could sell people a course, so that they can build a course to sell it, to teach people how to influence. It's a fucking Ponzi scheme. Like, none of these people are actually doing anything to make fucking money. They're just influencing people. I'm going to sell you a course on how to influence people so you can sell a course on it. Like, it is the craziest shit to me. There's so many people who are selling courses that don't actually have a true business of selling an actual product other than their course on how to influence people, that they just influence. Like, it's wild to me. So if you're going to buy a course from somebody, like, do your research and figure out like that person's actual production. Like, are they producing today, or did they ever produce? Now, doesn't mean if somebody's not producing today that don't trust them. Like Craig Proctor, like that guy, now his videos are cringe. He has great content. Somebody needs to teach him how to be better on video. But that guy sold massive amounts of homes. Like, he's not doing it today, but he did. He's got the cred, right? But if I'm trying to learn from somebody who doesn't sell, has never sold, like, be careful of that. That would be scary to me. So if you're gonna buy somebody's course, like, make sure you do your research on who they are.
That one went in a bunch of different directions, but I like that one.
Yeah.
So I wrote, you got to make the phone ring, you got to lead gen, you got to call.
Be careful, like, buying products. I mean, that wasn't on our list, but just be careful, like, buying courses, coaching, all that stuff. Like, there's so many people out there that are just making money off selling you courses that don't know how to sell a home to save their life. Just be careful of that. That's a scary thing to me. I want to know that whatever I'm buying into, like, that these people know what the hell they're talking about.
Fair. I have that as the fifth.
Not that they can just sell me a course. That's what I want to be curious. And that could be, and now also, like, I would be okay. Like Tom Ferry, right? Like, guy's never really been like a true agent, but he's helped a lot of people make a lot of money. Like, so that's okay. There's people like that are out there that maybe they haven't, but if you can show me a track record of helping either you being successful or helping people be successful, that's what I need to see.
Yeah.
If your course is your greatest sales, you've sold other people your course. Like, if that's the only thing you've ever sold, like that's scary to me.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I'm glad you talked about Tom Ferry, because I think he does a phenomenal job of surrounding himself with coaches and real estate agents, and love him or hate him, the atmosphere, the environment within Tom Ferry is very familial. Everyone's very open and willing to share, so you can learn a lot from that ecosystem without selling.
Yeah, because I know people go at him specifically that he's never sold, but like, he's got a track record of helping a lot of other people sell. So I'll give him that.
Cool. All right, next up, again, we talked about this at the top of the show. It's not a 9 to 5. You get to set your own hours, but there's a flip side to that coin. Carry on.
You want me to just take it now? I thought you were going to keep going.
No, that's it. I didn't forget what I was saying.
So again, people get into this trying to escape the like 9 to 5, rat race of being in a big corporation. But you realize, like, the alternative 9 to 5 is like 5 to 9. Like, now you're actually working like the other hours. Like, this is not an industry where you just work 9 to 5 and then you just get to go home and like check out completely. Like, that shit does not exist. Most agents, when they're in startup phase, like they're going to be working, I don't know, 50 to 60 hours a week. Like the agents that end up being very successful, like traditionally they're coming in and they're 50 to 60 hours a week out of the gate. Like, and I would argue that's full time in real estate. Like, sure, you were 40 hours a week in your corporate job, but like 50 to 60 is a more normal full-time gig in real estate. And it doesn't stop at 5 o'clock. Even if you go home at 5 o'clock, it doesn't stop. There's still texts coming in, there's emails coming in. And right, as everybody teaches in this industry with conversion, is speed to lead or speed to response is massively important. So if you're getting these inquiries and you're not responding in a speedy manner, you're going to lose these opportunities. So don't get into this industry if you think you can work a 9 to 5. That just doesn't happen. Maybe over time, like I've done this like 20 years now. Like now I effectively work a 9 to 5 and a 4-day week, but like it's 20 years to get to this point. Don't think you're going to
And a
get
lot
into
of
this
leverage.
industry. Yeah. And I have a $300,000 a month nut. So there's that too. So don't think you can get into this industry and work 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. Like if that's your objective, like this might not be for you.
I mean, perfect use case or example, Adrian Quijano, who was our number one agent on the team last year. We have a podcast. Tom will link that in the show notes below. But we talked with him and he worked 60 plus hours a week, was in real estate for, I think last year, 2.5 years, and number one agent on our team. That being said, I don't want to scare people away too much before we go to the last one. Talk a little bit about, obviously you have to work more than 9 to 5. Right. And weekends are a big thing. That's one of the things that really turned me off from becoming an agent, because I had my wedding photography business, which was a big weekend thing. And I can only pick one weekend activity. And so I chose weddings. But also talk about a little bit how just because now you don't have a set schedule, you also don't have to be a slave and work 25 hours a day. Right.
Yeah. Well, I want to just get this out there too. I don't want to burst your bubble. If you have another job and you're transitioning into real estate, I don't want to tell you can't be successful. If you are transitioning, you can do this, but you just have to be that much more diligent with your time. Like you can't afford to waste any time. Like every hour is, twice as important, right? If you're only putting half the hours, you got to get twice the results out of the same amount of hours. So I don't want to tell you don't do this if you can only do it part-time, but just tell you it's gonna be really hard, to the point where like we won't take somebody on our team that's part-time unless they have a clear transition plan within 90 days. Otherwise it's just not going to be a fit for us, because our expectation is full-time. If you need it, like, to throw this out there, if you need a side hustle, you need to make some money. I know we're going down a tangent, but I think this is good. Like bartending or working in the restaurant industry, especially if you can do it in a hotel, like that's my favorite. Like don't go to like the wild party crazy bar. Like no, do the hotel bar where you actually like get in conversations with people, and the drinks tend to be more expensive there and bigger tips and all that, and you're in conversation. And you could do that as a night job, like where it's not affecting real estate. You're making good money and you're getting relationships. Like I'm here for that.
There was one of our agents on our team also works a night job in the healthcare industry. And so they're able to help overnight if that person needs help. They don't have to be awake the whole night. That's very difficult. We have another agent that does that as well. But they're on site available. So night job, evening jobs.
But ideally ones where you're getting at bats simultaneous. That's why I like the bartending thing. There's other jobs you could do at night, but I like the fact that I'm getting at that. And some people are like, oh, I could drive Uber. Dude, do the research on how much money you make driving Uber. Like
Uber's solely a lead play.
I mean, you're maybe making $20 an hour, but you're destroying your car in the process. Like, yes, you're getting into conversations, but who's really trusting like the Uber driver? Like, it's not. I think if you're bartending, I think people could respect that hustle a little bit more than driving Uber. Just my personal opinion.
Cool.
Especially if you're well spoken and stuff at a bar and you're talking about fine wines and all that. Like, I think you're going to be better off that way.
This would pair well with a 1950s craftsman home located in North Park.
Yeah. Well, let's hit on the last point, the one that I think is the most important. So this is the big one, is you get into this industry because you want to be your own boss. You're not wrong. You are your own boss when you get into this industry. The part people don't tell you is you're also your only employee. Well, think about that real quick. Like, if you were starting a real estate company and you were the boss and you wanted to hire an employee, like what would you do with that employee? Like you would tell that employee like what to do, right? Like you're going to show up at this time, you're going to do these activities and blah blah blah. You're going to very clearly tell them what to do and you're going to expect them to do it. If you had hired an employee, well, you are that employee and you hired yourself. So now you've got to tell yourself what time to show up and what activities to do to be successful. A lot of people aren't prepared for that. That's a little different than what you're used to in your corporate job where your boss told you when to show up and what to do. Now you are the boss and you are the employee. And that is a huge shell shock for a lot of people.
You know, people don't love being an employee, and I get that. You're like, I want to set my own thing. But it's really hard to be a boss. It's I mean, there wouldn't be so many books on leadership, on being about there. It wouldn't be such the huge industry that it is if it were really easy. So it's really hard to be a boss. And so if you're like, I don't like being an employee, I want to be my own boss. Okay, you're going to be your own boss, which is really hard. And then you still have to be an employee, which is really hard. Especially if you're trying to get away from that. It's a tough struggle. And it's a weird kind of dichotomy if you're both at the same time, where you're like, my boss is a jerk and my employee doesn't do what they want. And it's always you. That can be a bit lonely. That can be a bit tough. So
yeah, that is the biggest shell shocker for most people. You've got to realize you are still an employee. You're just you're your own and only employee.
Yeah. So all that great taxes that, your employer pays for half and you pay for half as an employee, that's still the same. You're just the employer and the employee. You get the shit end of both sticks. Cool. So the ones I've got, the 5 things, we made them 7 that they don't tell you when you're starting real estate. 1, you got to pay your own taxes, set money aside each and every deal so that you don't put yourself in a difficult situation. 2, set up a S corp right away. It can help you save lots of money on taxes. And I think it also gives you some more legal protections as well. Is that right?
Yep.
Cool. 3, coming into real estate, you don't get automatic health benefits. You don't get a portion paid for. You don't even get someone saying, here, check out these health benefits, choose your option. You go, well, if you want health insurance, you got to figure it out. And that is not a fun road to be down. Now, there are certain places like EXP they say, hey, here's a plan that you can look at. So at least you can get started. And I don't think anyone's ever like, these are great health benefits for most jobs, but I think they're pretty decent.
Yeah.
I know when I first started my business, I was like, I want the oh shit insurance. Like, oh shit, I got an accident and I don't want to die, but I also don't want to lose my house. Give me that. And it's better than that, which is great. Number 4, you've got to make the phone ring. You got to do your lead gen. You got to follow up. You only get to eat what you hunt and kill. And that's a whole big life cycle that you have to go through, from finding, nurturing, closing, and then taking care of that client. That's a big life cycle. That's usually more than one person is used to at any job. You're usually not part of all of it. You're the generation or the transaction. Now you have to deal with all of it. A bonus one we did is careful who you buy things from. Whether this is a course, whether this is coaching, whether this is even a platform, a CRM, or a new object, you got to be careful of who you buy from, so that way you know that there's proven success behind it in doing what it or they are actually teaching you to do. You want to make sure that their B2C skills, business to consumer, is better or as good as their B2B, as good as they are selling to you. 6, it's not a 9 to 5. And we never really touched on that portion of protecting your time. But that'll be another podcast for sure. But it's not a 9 to 5. It's more than that. And if you're getting into this, you're going to want to really commit to spending more than 40 or more than 50 hours a week, really getting this business up and running. If you look at real estate, overall, the barrier to entry is fairly low. If you look at real estate versus opening a restaurant, real estate, you have to take some courses, pass a test. Overall income that it costs you is $1,000, $2,000 to get up and running. A restaurant's going to cost you $200,000-$300,000 for the rent, the build out, all the plates and the glasses. So there's a low barrier to entry. but you know damn well that the restaurant tour is not working 40 hours a week as well. So make sure that you know this is your business. You have to work it. And finally, you are the best and worst boss and the best and worst employee in your company of one. And there's a lot of work to be done. You have to be regimented and scheduled and structured on your time so that way your employee, aka you, doesn't take advantage of it. And so that way your company, aka you, can make more money.
Awesome.
That was a pretty good wrap up, huh?
Good job.
Thanks. You should just listen to that. Thank you. I needed the pat on the back.
Those pat on the backs go a long way for Bryan.
That they do.
That should be my widget of the week, patting Bryan on the back. Cool. Well, hopefully you guys got some value out of the show today. If you did, if you're listening on a podcast platform, if you could hook us up with a review on there, those mean a lot to us. Also, make sure to subscribe. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit the thumbs up button. Let YouTube know you enjoyed the show. If you want more of our show, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. YouTube will keep you posted. And if you have a question, you can always throw it in the comment section on YouTube. Bryan and I personally respond to all of those comments on there. Before we wrap the show, want to finish with something we like to call the Whissel widget of the week. This is something we utilize in our business. It saves us time, makes us more money, or helps us have a little bit more fun. What do you got, Bryan?
Mine is a widget we've used in the past, but has come out with a brand new feature, which is really exciting, which is StreamYard. So StreamYard will allow you from one feed to stream to multiple different platforms. So you've always been able to stream to Facebook, Pages, your personal profile, LinkedIn, YouTube. There's some other ones in there. But what you haven't been able to do for the longest time is stream to Instagram. People always say, hey, well, how do I do that? And I said, well, get your phone or another phone and stream to Instagram. Well, we just found out today, and we didn't do it because there's a little bit more setup. But now StreamYard has the ability to stream live to Instagram. So like I said, we do the Whissel Way podcast here. This is streamed when we record, which is usually every Monday, and we stream it in our different platforms. Now we will be able to stream it on Instagram, and hopefully we'll be able to stream it to a couple different accounts at once. So that is my widget this week.
Cool. The one I want to share, we may have shared this before, but I got some new information that I think makes this more important. So if you guys are unaware, Gmail, Yahoo, and a bunch of other email service providers have made it substantially harder to push emails through and avoid getting filtered completely, ending up in the spam box, promotions, whatever the case may be. Like, it's become harder and harder than ever to get an email into somebody's freaking inbox. With that said, if the platform, the IDX platform that you're using, is solely relying on emails to get properties in front of your client's face, you're screwed. Like, if that's your sole way of getting properties in front of your clients, you're probably not getting many properties in front of many clients. So you need to find other ways to get that done. Well, if you think about, right, what's the two links you get from clients that are super frustrating is from Redfin and Zillow, right? Your clients are constantly sending you links to Redfin and Zillow. Why are they sending you links to Redfin and Zillow and not your website? It's because, one, they're not seeing your damn e-alerts, but what they are seeing is the notifications that come in from Zillow and from Redfin. So they're using those apps because those apps are giving them push notifications as opposed to emailing them properties. Well, shouldn't we maybe take note, if you like put two and two together here, like the most used apps are notification based and most IDX platforms are email based. Maybe we should have an app that will push notifications to our clients. And so there's a company called Rooster, Ruuster. We've recently partnered up with them, and their app will integrate with Ylopo. It'll integrate with Sierra and some of the other really strong IDX platforms out there. So now you cannot solely depend, you don't have to solely depend on email notifications. Now you're going to get push notifications going to your personal branded app.
And I'll be really honest with you, Kyle. You and Chris brought this up, really excited. And I was thinking of an implementation standpoint, how are we going to get people to download? And I wasn't very excited about it, to be completely honest. I met with some of their team last week, and it's really cool. Like, the things they thought of, the things they've integrated, the things they're working on. I was like, oh, I see why you're so excited about it. So I was hesitant. If you are hesitant as well, I recommend just set up a demo with them. I'm sure you can go to their website, Ruuster. STER. I don't know, just Google it. It's pretty unique. Set up a demo with them, and I was pretty impressed, and I was like, I get why you guys are so excited. It's going to make the work we're doing on the back end to get people notified and excited about this, worth it.
Cool. Yeah, hit those guys up. If they give you any hassles, let them know. You just give them my name. That'll help. It'll get you to the front of the line. So hopefully that's helpful. Awesome, guys. Well, I appreciate you tuning into the show today. We hope you got a lot of value out of it. Again, I'm Kyle Whissel with eXp Realty.
I'm Bryan Kochi.
We'll see you next week.